It's the Fisher Stevens Show. Oh, wait a minute. No, it is J Hutch Talks Too Much. And I have here my cousin, friend, pal, Maggie McLean. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Maggie. Great to have you here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me. It's about time.
Yeah. It is about time. It's
Yes.
absolutely about time. Not only is it about time, I was just thinking about this today. Not only about time to have you on as a guest, but I was also actually thinking we're only at episode 27, and I'm already having a lady on the show. That's pretty.
That's a
I
little
think
early.
it's a pretty progressive move.
I don't know. You might want to warm up your crowd a little bit more. I don't know. I think it's because why I think you chose this episode is because it's this like episode 27 is our age, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. That's
Combined,
exactly the
but
case.
yeah,
I'm glad that you said that
yeah,
because
yeah.
I was about to. But yeah, so how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm just
Yeah.
having just a great. I just flew in, and it was a quick flight. It was
Yeah.
I think we were around warp 6 or 7.
Yeah, Maggie's coming to us from the Alpha Quadrant. If
I
anybody,
am today. Yes, I am. And I was so excited to be here to talk to you at last about such a something that's so near and dear, I think.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, we are of course talking about Pasolini's Sallow. No, we are talking about.
What a gentle film.
I just thought, what's the best thing that could follow something that's near and dear to your heart? I just that's the one that I came up with.
Oh yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Jess.
Yeah. So what we are talking about, though, actually, I have it right here.
Oh,
Is
your very own copy.
right my own copy of it. This is as you could tell just by this. Sometimes people aren't watching this; they're just listening, so they don't know. But this really gives away how old this copy is.
That's
But
a clickaroonie right there.
Yeah,
that is not even the full. Not even the full. What do they call like pearl? What are they called again? I worked at Blockbuster. I should know this.
I don't know. I'm not sure what they're called, but
It's something like ivory. I don't know. But you got like the flimsy paper.
yeah.
Piece, right? Yeah.
No, this is not a good version. But if anybody knows the version Maggie's talking about, feel free to call in, and we will address that at some point in the episode.
Yeah. Call in on your telephones.
Please
To our telephones.
Our lines are open.
Yeah.
But this is Waiting for Guffman, the Christopher Guest film. Yeah, so actually, well, how should I start this? Oftentimes, I'll begin just by doing a quick summary of the movie.
Yeah.
So let me know if I've forgotten anything here.
I will.
Basically, the movie, if you haven't seen it, is a comedy. It's a mockumentary. It's set in a kind of a small town, Americana kind of town, Blaine, Missouri, where it's excuse me, where they are celebrating their 150th year, I believe, and they're putting on this play. And this character here, Corky, is I almost called him Corky Romano, but I think that's another movie. Corky St. Clair, played by Christopher Guest, is creating the kind of local director who is going to make this sort of pageant sort of play about the history of Blaine. And then at one point gets a letter from this guy named Mort Guffman, who is from New York City, who says he'll come down and watch the play, which makes Corky and all the people in the play believe that this show, I believe it's called Red, White, and Blaine, it has the potential of maybe going to Broadway. And they do the show, and a guy does come who they think is Guffman, but turns out to not be Guffman, and the show doesn't go to Broadway. I would say that's the broad strokes of the film.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? Did I miss out on anything important there?
No, I think you hit the main pieces, which is probably as much as the cast understood.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's an important component because it's an improvised movie. So kind of, I would say maybe the first improvised movie that sort of kicked off a whole series of things that are sort of improvised. A lot of them by Christopher Guest too, but also things like Curb Your Enthusiasm have that sort of improvisational quality to it, which is one of the, as I've been thinking about doing the show, one of the reasons why it's good that you and I are talking about this, because you and I have a history, an improvisational history.
That's right.
Yeah. We've done
Oh,
something
yes.
our day.
Yes, we did. That is such a great connection, you and I, and over the youngest folk to ever take the improv stage at Second City,
Yeah.
when it was still above the Pilates studio.
Yes, that's right. I think technically you and I were the oldest of the youngest, but but it was a very young group that was there. And so we would have shared the stage, in fact, well, not literally shared it at the same time, but historically speaking,
Our feet trod upon
yeah,
the same stage as.
the
Yes.
same stage as a few of the people who are in this movie. Yeah.
And
So
look where we are.
look how far we've come. Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara in Schitt's Creek.
Yep.
And so are you and I to some degree.
Yeah. In some semblance of.
Yeah. So another reason, though, why I wanted to have you on to talk about this movie is because I'm pretty sure the first time I heard of Waiting for Guffman was from you. I don't think I'd ever heard of it before, and when you were starting to tell me how great the movie is. So another thing that I do like to ask people I have on is, how did you find this movie? What were your first experiences with it? Yeah. And actually, my first question really is like, did you feel like you were part of a very small group of people who knew what this movie was at the time?
It's that's I don't know. So the way that I found out about it was this. I think it came out in 96, 97.
Yeah, 97, I think it came out.
Was it 97? Okay. So I would have been at this point like 16 years old. I was working at Blockbuster at this time, and that is how I saw this movie. In that very cover, the very same cover was on the shelf, the VHS shelf, as on the new releases, right? That's the one. And I walked by, I don't know how many times, and I would always peer at it and, take a look at it. And I think I didn't think about it until I saw something about Spinal Tap, and I had seen Spinal Tap and I'd liked Spinal Tap. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's the Spinal Tap people. Well, I have my free movie a month coming up. I'll rent this VHS. I'll rent this one. And so brought it home, and my mom sat down with me and we watched it together. And I could not believe how funny it was. I couldn't believe how each scene had something perfect in it. Every scene had something perfectly funny in it. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. My mom loved it. I thought of you. I thought of Daniel, because we all have the same sort of senses of humor. And so you would have been one of the first people I went to and say, well, please see this. I think it's right up your alley. But I didn't really know much about the internet at that time. I didn't know how to talk to other people who may have seen this movie. So it did in a way, I guess I felt ooh, I have this special insight, but only because I wouldn't have thought anybody else would be interested in watching it.
Yeah.
This is so my sense of humor. Why would anybody else want to watch this?
Sure. Yeah. But it's funny that you say that, because I was talking to Daniel the last time that he was on, not during the show, but afterwards, I think, saying that you were going to come on to talk about Waiting for Guffman. And he said that he first heard about the movie through you as well.
Amazing.
So yeah. So
I really very, very liked it before it was cool. So
you were on top of it. You were cutting edge.
Totally.
Avant-garde, as they might say.
Working at Blockbuster.
That's what it was, I think. But yeah. So I agree that there's really no off moments in this movie. I don't think. I think and as you say, every scene is great. What do you think is makes it so great? What about it to you makes it so, as you said, each scene have this perfect moment in it?
I think it's due to the loving care that they have put into it's pitch perfect. I don't know how else to say it. Like I was at this arts seen every single one of those people in real life. Like those characters.
Yeah.
I've seen, you know, the you know, should I strike this? Should I strike the set? Like using like the jargon to try and seem like very knowledgeable. I'd
Yeah.
seen the people who would like mouth the other person's lines as they were talking to them.
Yeah.
Like I'd met or the people who were doing like ridiculous like bongo drum exercises to like loosen up. Like I knew all those terms. I knew all of so painstakingly and lovingly recreated in all of its ridiculous glory in
Yeah.
this movie in every scene that I think that to me is what really I was like, how are they getting it so right in every single scene?
Yeah.
I think what does it for me, anyways. What about you?
Well, that's that is partly what I wanted to ask you about, because you had a background in that kind of in that sort of theater world. But I do think that anybody who has ever seen any component of local theater, whether
Yes.
it's part of it or just watching it,
Yeah.
would find something in this movie that's really relatable and incredibly realistic.
It's
Because
perfect community theater. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think I was listening a little bit to the commentary last night and earlier this morning, and Christopher Guest, I think the way he put it, and I think that this is kind of the perfect way to do it, is that you look at these sort of sets and how kind of amateurish they are. You see sort of the everything about it is just generally kind of a little bit on the cheap side, but everybody who's involved is committing to it as if they were making the greatest production of all time, and 95% of the people involved think that that's actually what it is, that they're doing something amazing.
Oh,
And that, I think, is in many ways, like, I love the fact that Corky is taken so seriously by almost everybody. So not everybody. Like I also love the fact that the Bob Balaban character doesn't take him seriously. Like the one guy.
because he's so jealous. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
He's so put off.
Yeah. Well, that one scene. So at one point in the movie, Corky walks off the production because he is not getting the amount of money that he needs in order to make it into the great sort of big production show that will impress this Guffman character that's coming. So he leaves. And then Bob Balaban, who, if you don't know who Bob Balaban is, he's in what are some? I mean, he's in a whole bunch of Christopher Guest.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's the first place I would look.
Yeah, he's in a lot of Christopher Guest movies. Diminutive guy, bald with a beard, kind of reddish beard, and but he was also in Gosford Park and movies like that. And Corky leaves and he sees that this is his moment, right? He's going to go in. He's taking over the production. And the cut is fantastic because it cuts immediately to them running after Corky to try and get him back. When from all reasonable points of view, the Bob Balaban character is clearly the better person to be in charge of this show. Maybe not.
He writes this incredible score. Like that is like the funniest part of it is that like he has like a fully orchestrated, fully composed, like ensemble for this tiny musical that he's written himself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, which almost makes him exactly the same as everybody else, that he's taking it just as seriously as everybody else in the production. He just might have slightly more talent than the other actors and Corky. But they get Corky, but when Corky comes back, they're all applauding him. But you just see Bob Balaban in the background looking so angry.
It's framed perfectly.
Yeah.
He's just like standing there so awkward so dejected. It's so well done. This is one of the another. This really touches upon another wonderful piece of the movie is that every character has their own little like motivations or their own little secrets that kind of just come out through not explicitly through conversation, but like it's things that are intimated at throughout the film that you get sort of like little character arcs as you go through beyond like sort of what's right in front of you, right? And he's a great character for that. Like,
and along those lines, there's a great scene too. Which in the commentary they said that for a while they were talking about cutting it from the movie because it was maybe almost a little too real, and that people watched it, didn't laugh so much, but found it more awkward than funny. But I mostly just find awkward things funny anyway. But it was in the Chinese food restaurant when it's Eugene Levy and his wife and Fred Willard and Catherine O'Hara.
Oh yes.
Catherine O'Hara is drunk off her mind, and they start talking about the penis reduction surgery that Fred Willard has had, and so that is again very revealing, right? That the two things are revealed in that moment. They've been building to the penis reduction.
They have been.
Yeah, they keep sort of making small references to it, but Catherine O'Hara being a drunk is slightly revealed in that scene.
It's so well. That's the whole. You also get like. I wish I had access to this commentary. I will have to listen to it at some point. I've never heard it. I bet it's amazing. But it's that same thing. Like you get the undercurrents. Like she is so fawning and adoring of what's his name? Sheila.
Ron. I think it's Ron, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ron and Sheila.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. And you can just. You get the idea that he's like very patronizing towards her, like just by little things that he says and little things that she says, and that maybe she's, even though she's like, oh, my hero, like if there's an undercurrent of like, oh, my life, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's when it kind of pays off in that scene right there, which I think is really lovely and well done. Lovely. As lovely as a penis reduction surgery can be.
And Eugene Levy, again, the line that always makes me laugh, and I'll try to not name all the lines that make me laugh because it's never as funny to hear it. I just recommend going to see the movie if you haven't seen it. But as they're having that conversation, Eugene Levy turns to his wife and says, "Have you tried the sauce? It's out of this world." What do you do in an awkward situation like that?
It's so good how he's just trying to deflect to his wife, and his wife is just like, it's so there's so many great lines in this film. Like there's so many great little asides that you might not even catch the first time, and when you watch it many times, you pick up on these like beautiful little chestnuts that are buried in each scene, right?
A lot of them are not even audible because again, in that commentary, Christopher pointed to this one bit, this one joke that is almost impossible to hear because a bunch of people are talking at the same time. So you have to really kind of listen to hear who's saying what. But it's when they're doing the play in the last 20 minutes of the movie, and this guy who they think is Guffman shows up, and Christopher Guest goes backstage and tells the performers, he's here, and they're all excited. And you could just barely hear, and I didn't hear it. Christopher Guest pointed it to me to hear it, but you just hear Fred Willard say, "Should we start again?"
Yeah, I did hear that. I started again. I love it. Well, there's another piece in that scene too that I think I only caught on to in my last viewing is when Sheila introduces herself. She's almost like wilting away, and then Rob reintroduces her as Mrs. Rob. What's their last name?
I can't remember. I can't remember. Hold on, I've got the cast here. Albertson
it is. Okay, So like he reintroduces her as Mrs. And so like it's little things like that are just like, oh, this is too good. Like they know their characters too well. To be able to improvise that.
Yeah, it is great. Like the just and overall, as you mentioned before, the attention to detail in the movie is really incredible. Like just in terms of like we said, with Bob Balaban there in the background, you can just tell how upset he is. But lots of things in the background, like pictures on the wall and all that kind of stuff. Like they just did put a lot of effort into the detail in the film. And like even in the last, I'll just skip right to the last couple of minutes, the kind of post-credit scene where he's going through his little museum or his little shop that he's opened up in New York. Like they must have spent, I feel like they spent half of the movie's budget on that scene.
Right? I was watching that last time. I'm like, there's like, how many remains of the day lunchboxes did they need to make? And I did a search. I did a search to see, like, were these readily available somewhere? They're not. They made, like,
Sure.
they have like 20 or 30 remains of the day lunchboxes sitting there. Like, and the busts of the Brat Pack, like, where did they, like, there must have been something that, like, spurred this idea.
Yeah, the Anthony Michael Hall busts with the braces going in front from 16 Candles. Yeah.
Oh, just see the movie, everybody. I don't know.
Everybody, if you haven't seen the movie, you should definitely see the movie. Well, and actually, that's one of the things I want to talk about, because I feel like this movie, and maybe like this movie along with Best in Show, were which, by the way, I don't know which one that I like better. I really love both of those movies, Guffman and Best in Show. I feel like there's moments in Best in Show that I like. I love the end of Best in Show with the Fred Willard doing the commentary.
Yes.
But also, like, part of me thinks, well, it's kind of basically the same, like, structure wise as Waiting for Guffman. And then after Best in Show, each sort of subsequent one, like A Mighty Wind and For Your Consideration, just kind of got a little bit less and less, at least for me.
Yeah, no, they were. I feel the same way. I feel like Mighty Wind and For Your Consideration were fantastic films that weren't necessarily, funny wasn't the main point.
Right.
But the characterization and the characters and their journeys became way more of the journey, and they were really good in that way. But
Yeah,
if you're looking for like the sort of the mockumentary style feel, it wasn't those ones. It wasn't those ones. I think A Mighty Wind was like this. It demonstrated such amazing musicianship from every single person. Like they were all amazing musicians.
That's
and
true.
They were like really touching, heartfelt, important beats like in those
Yeah.
and it was kind of a love letter to that, like, to folk music, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that, yeah.
And I still like that movie a lot. I still like it. But yeah, I think generally speaking, I'm more attracted to a movie like Guffman or Best in Show. But you're right, there is a kind of a warmth to those other movies as well.
But it's different. It's definitely those two movies feel very different to me from even like from Spinal Tap into like that. Those ones feel way more like they're supposed to be. There's a ridiculousness.
Yes.
Whereas the For Your Consideration, Mighty Wind, they don't. They feel like slightly caricaturesque, but it isn't the same way, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I like Best in Show. Best in Show seemed like the extension of Waiting for Guffman. Like, okay, like now we're noticed. Like we know this style. We know what we're gonna do. Like here's sort of like the shiny version of Guffman.
Yeah.
Guffman feels, you know what I mean? Guffman feels a bit more scrappy.
Well, I think it was really cheaply made. It does strike me that they were working on an extremely limited budget when they made Waiting for Guffman. It kind of just comes out of, I mean, remember the 90s for being, do you remember the 90s for one? Let's just end it right there. Do you
some days. Cue ending music.
Yeah. There was that whole independent movie scene that was going on in the 90s that kind of disappeared a little bit after that. And I think that this movie kind of fell into that. It just very sort of cheaply made movies, and yet were really extraordinarily well made and had a lot of character to them.
Quirky.
What's that? There, yeah, they were quirky. They were quirky. They were quirky St. Clair.
Yeah,
but But yeah, I was gonna say that I think that the movie is really influential in terms of, for one, that mockumentary. I guess you could say it would start with Spinal Tap, but I see the style that emerged in things like The Office
Mm-hmm.
and what was the Modern Family. It seemed like every new show was this kind of mockumentary style for a while. It seemed to me to be much more like Guffman than it was like Spinal Tap. I'm not sure, but it seemed that way to me.
No, I feel you. And like, I think Ricky Gervais was even in, I think, For Your Consideration, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
I think it was. Like, I feel like I feel like The Office definitely has the that awkward piece, and it is an awkward piece. It's watching people going, I can't believe these people are real, but they are real in a way.
yes,
Just
yeah,
like and The Office definitely touches on that a lot. And I also feel like Spinal Tap is very different. I like you said, I think that Guffman, because I'm calling it Guffman now because
yeah.
that's how you refer to something when you're a film person.
Right.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I called it Waiting, but everybody was confused.
Waiting for.
Have you seen Waiting?
Just waiting.
Yeah, Waiting. Don't even complete the first full word.
Right. Right.
How about Wait? We'll just call it Wait.
Okay. So one of the things that I really, Wait really kicked off, like it has the seeds of the cast that you'd see throughout the other films
Yes.
I won't go through them all and give them cute names, will I?
Yeah, we've got time. There's still at least an hour to go, so we could.
Good, great. Okay, so no, but even it's so funny. I had like an influx of thoughts, but they're gone now. Even it was a straight to Netflix one, I think.
Mascots.
The Mascots, yeah. Which also, like, it was kind of like the spiritual successor, right?
Yes.
Because it's Corky. It has what's her name? Parker Posey's character.
Are the characters the same?
One of them is. Well, yeah, there are. Corky's in it.
Is he?
Yeah.
I've forgotten. I have to see that movie again. I watched it when it first came out, but I haven't seen it since then. Oh wow.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, but they all have they're very. Yeah, there's just a very different feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. You're being attacked by Romulans.
No, we're good.
Maybe that'll add to the. But yeah, no, and I think partly it's because it's directed by. I mean, the Spinal Tap was directed by Rob Reiner, right? And so I think that gives it a different sort of feel. Whereas I'm sure the rest of them were all directed by Christopher Guest, and so that it has a different kind of style to it. And yeah, I definitely think, like, I've always thought that the character that Ricky Gervais was playing in The Office was kind of like, it was as if the Fred Willard character in these movies got his own starring role in the movie. Basically that character.
Poor old Fred Willard.
Or Fred Willard. Willard, maybe one of the funniest people ever, I think.
It's so funny. Like he plays this like a similar character in a lot of them, which is like this happy-go-lucky moron.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to say. And he's always the one that's slightly awkward. Like,
Yes. Well, he thinks he's hilarious, which is great. I have an affinity towards that, and he thinks he's very, very funny.
Oh yeah.
And he's the one that's always laughing at his jokes the most. Although, again, partly what works in this movie is that Catherine O'Hara is always laughing too. What's the one where he's doing an imitation?
Oh, here's looking at you.
Yeah. And she laughs. He's like, "Who is that? Who is that?" He never knows who.
Never knows who it is. She still laughs. You kind of can't tell. You kind of can't tell if it pisses him off or not. Yeah,
exactly.
So many good lines. I don't know. Like, I think that I still call people bastard people. Like, that's not something that's left me.
Yeah, that is my favorite scene in the movie. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because there's not only you people are bastard people, but I'm gonna go home and bite my pillow. Is
Bite my pillow.
yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
many great lines.
And then similar thing at the end. I hate you in your ass face.
In your ass face, which I also still use.
Yeah.
When I watched it again, I realized just how much of that movie, it's like The Simpsons. So much of it has seeped into my everyday
Yes.
that I didn't even realize it. I had to watch it again and going, oh, that comes from there.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a little, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think it did. And I think for people who liked it, it was maybe hard to get away from it. It's like one of those things, if you're reading something, you start to talk like it, or when you're, talking with somebody, you start to talk like them. This is the same sort of thing. I think that it's got such a specific tone to it that you very easily fall into that tone, and it's so specific
easy
to this style, to these movies.
Oh.
But I think another one, and it's not, I don't know, maybe it's slightly a mockumentary. I can never get a hang on it, but I think Arrested Development is definitely influenced by a movie like Waiting for Guffman.
So I'm very sad that I've only seen very little of Arrested Development, but one thing I do know about it is their ability to take something like the seed of one thing and then let it just play out and have it pay off way far down the line.
Yes.
I think that's something that you see a little bit in Waiting for Guffman too.
Yeah.
Like those, just being very comfortable in letting like a joke sort of hit later on a little bit.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Although, yeah, I don't know much about Arrested Development.
Yeah. Well, the show, I mean, if I were to I would say that in some ways it would be like a movie like this, like Waiting for Guffman, as if somebody were actually writing the lines, right? So then you get a distinction a little bit there, but still very much maybe aiming for that style. And also the things that we've been saying about the kind of the characters and the how very specific the characters are and how detailed they are, I think is an element of Arrested Development as well.
You know what? Based on what I have seen of the show, yes, I definitely see that a lot. Like they're very specific people. They act in like ways that are true to their character all the time, right? Yeah. And they will take it just a little bit too far. Right. Sometimes a lot of it too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, for sure. And like to me, that's like unbelievable because again, 16 years old watching this video, like I didn't know. I like who would have known? That it's so
it's funny the things that stick with you.
Yeah. You said that just like Corky. It's funny the things that stick with you.
It's kind of like Scotch tape. If you, I'm trying to do a Corky
rip. Joke, how many babies you can fit in there. Oh,
it's that old thing.
For us quoting every line from the movie.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're going to get through the whole thing potentially. But did you? So I keep saying I'm not going to. In my head, I'm saying don't keep talking about the commentary. But one more thing from
talk lots about the commentary because it's informative to me and entertaining.
So Christopher Guest in the commentary says that, he sees this as a loving portrayal. And I agree with that. Although, sometimes there's a thin line between loving and mocking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we should necessarily confuse the two of those things, but where do you see it? Do you see it falling more on the loving portrayal or slipping into the mocking, maybe oscillating back and forth?
I think there's some oscillation for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it doesn't, to me, the mocking never feels mean-spirited.
Right.
It feels like you really want these people to succeed in some way, right? Yeah. They're none of them are really vilified. Even though, you are laughing at them in a way. You're laughing at that they dare believe that they can go beyond this little town, the stool capital of the world.
Yes.
and their sesquicentennial celebration. um, uh, but but the point is, like, they're all really committed to it. They're
Yeah.
all putting in everything that they have. They there is you have to love these people a little bit to get them so right.
Yeah.
I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I could think of two moments. One is when they're rehearsing and Bob Balaban comes up to Corky. I should really come up with know what Bob Balaban's character's name is, because I'm using the character names for Lloyd Miller.
Lloyd.
I don't think I ever heard that in the movie at all, that his name
He
was Lloyd.
introduces himself. Does he? I remember seeing his name come up.
He must be referred to as Lloyd at some point, but you know what? What the hell? I'm just going to call him Bob Balaban from this
Call him
point.
Bob Balaban. It rolls off the tongue.
It does, really. It's a fun word to say. Multiple words, in fact. Yeah. But yeah, so Bob Balaban goes up to Corky, and again, it's a great exchange because he keeps whispering about how they need to rehearse the music more, and then Corky tells him to speak louder. Anyway, there's a good exchange there. But as they're having the conversation, the camera sort of it cuts to the cast sort of watching the conversation take place, and there is, you do, in that moment, at least I kind of feel for them, because you know that they know that they're being talked about, and they want to be seen as being doing a good job, but clearly they're being talked about as if they're not doing a good job. And I don't know, for me, that's a moment. And obviously the bigger moment is at the end when they find out that it's not really Guffman that has come, and you feel for them in that moment as well. So yeah, I think on some level there is some making fun of people like this, but I think that it's not purely that. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel bad for them in those moments.
Oh, 100%. Like who else doesn't want Libby May to like get out of the DQ, right? Like I want to see her like get somewhere else. She wants to get out of this town, and she's just I feel bad for her, you know?
Yeah.
I poor Dr. Pearl, who just who doesn't have like high aspirations, but
yes.
through this, like, he discovers something joyous about himself. Like, that's great.
Yes.
And like, you're happy for them, and you're crushed for them.
Yeah.
And they're so, what is it? They're so excited for their show. Like, I know that feeling. Yeah. Anybody who's done a show knows that feeling of that high that you get. Like, and you're, I don't know. There's just like such genuine moments in there that you have to think, like, these are lovingly crafted people. And he is like sort of portraying like small town America, you know, in a loving way. Like, there's just something very sweet about, you know, Blaine's local historian who's you know, opens the movie and tells us about like the biggest moments in Blaine history.
Yeah.
Like, they're
the
I don't
stool.
know.
Yeah. This is where the stool comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole story about Blaine is ridiculous in the first place, where people settled there because they thought it was California, and it was they asked where the ocean was, and he said it was a low tide.
Yeah. I smell salt.
Yeah, I smell
salt. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like it was like Blaine Fabin. Even the names are so good. Blaine Fabin, like, basically like suckered a bunch of people, and that was like how Blaine started.
But nobody puts it that way, right? Nobody ever addresses it that way. It's a mythological beginning. Like, nobody's like, look at these dumb people. They like nobody.
No portraits made of this moment.
Right. That's right. So, and I think
it's so straight, right? Like, it's really like it's played so straight.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, again, like, something that I think is really relatable, because I think too, I was actually just thinking about this today, like, this podcast, for example, is almost an equivalent of local theater. You know, it is.
Yes, right?
Yeah, it's not a big thing. It's a very small thing. It's, you know, but I take it seriously, and people tell me, "Oh, I watched it; it was good." And it's like, yeah, there is a little bit of local theater element of it, and I take pride in it and all that kind of stuff. And I think we've all done. I mean, we've all probably been in that situation too, where people kind of invite you over to their house and say, "Look at this thing that I made," and they feel very proud of it. And yeah, maybe it might not. Yeah. What is that? Is that a horse?
Tell me more.
An ashtray? It's great.
Love it.
But
no, yeah, for sure. And I think like that's part of it too. Like you see pieces of yourself in these characters as well. Like
definitely. Definitely. So it's good. But do you think that what's her name? What's Parker Posey's character's name?
Libby May.
Libby May.
Yeah, it came to me.
She really gets the short end of the stick because of all the main characters, she's the one that's not really she's not performing. She's still the Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
A different Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen.
But still a Dairy Queen.
And hasn't really expanded her, like it seems like, and that's why I feel the worst for her is because she walks away from it still kind of trapped. Mm-hmm. Whereas everyone else feels like Ron and Sheila, still the old workhorses, they still have their careers, right? And they're still and Dr. Pearl goes on, he discovers that he does in fact have talent, and moves on in his career. But Libby May, not so
living with her criminal father in a different town.
Working on some healthy, low-fat, healthy blizzards.
The line I always used to do actually was from her first talking head in the movie, where it's like she's just listing the things that people eat at the Dairy Queen, and she ends with Cokes. Yeah. Sometimes people just come in and get Coke.
It's her delivery that really makes that character, honestly. Having here at the DQ, and just constantly chomping gum, like 8.
And then later, again, talking about detail, when she's just making that one chicken wing on the barbecue.
Yes! Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so well done with like her little tongs.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that I could just do it justice. Like, I'm glad that, it's one of those things that I'm glad I can share with you right now, because all of these moments are so special and so crafted and so funny.
Yes.
But describing it just doesn't work. You can't do a bit from Guffman.
No, you can't. So I really apologize to the audience because we've done most of them. But you really we've done almost the whole movie for you at this point. And it is only like an 87-minute. How long is this movie? 84 minutes, 87 minutes, or something like that. 84 minutes.
It is okay. I will say, and I'm so amazed by this. Like, not only is it like improvised and funny, it is really well edited.
Yes.
And like I was reading that with all these improvised takes, they had like 80 hours of footage.
Yeah.
80 hours.
Yeah.
And they edited it into something that is like completely parsable and legible. Like, exactly what's going on. You know exactly who these characters are. They edited it so it's funny. Every single scene is funny. And there's just not any wasted space. And I don't know how anybody, like, I've seen like some of the deleted scenes and I'm like, no, like this would have slowed the pace down. It's funny.
Yeah.
But like I just think it was very well edited as well.
Well, I was listening to the commentary.
You do you, Jesse. It's your show.
and thank you. And don't you love my show? And he was saying that it took him 1.5 years to edit the movie.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So, like, I guess they must have like filmed it in '95 or something like that, probably, and it didn't come out until '97. But yeah, we've talked a little bit on the podcast before about the how we need to revive the short movie.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Like, well, it's like the short story, right? Like you have to have something that grabs people.
Mhm.
Like the premise has to be so good that you're grabbed from the first moment, and then there's just like not a wasted. Can you hear the ice cream truck? Because
I can't. I wish that I could. I'm
I
sorry. I didn't know that the ice cream truck went that far into space.
I did. You know, it's incredible.
Yeah. That's amazing. They're really branching out.
Well, Ferengi sense an opportunity, and you know,
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. What are
so
the what are the things that the Ferengis always want? What's the currency or
Latinum? Is it Latinum?
gold-plated latinum? Yeah, I think that's what
Yeah, that's the one. Gold
it
plated
is.
platinum.
Every time I think of it, I think it's dilithium crystals, but that's the thing that makes the ship move.
Warp core.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it makes it
that's
achieve
right.
warp speed. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Another show.
from the same era. We're
It's the
taking
only
a
thing.
nostalgic trip back to the '90s.
The only thing I'm qualified to talk about.
It's my decade of expertise as well. I have to
Okay.
say
Um,
it.
but yes, the short films can be like so wonderful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of film. I know probably you watch a lot more, and Dan certainly get to
Yes.
see it, but like watching Guffman was such a nice experience because of that, because it just felt like it moved, it got the job done,
Yeah.
give me a story, let me go home. I mean, I'm
Well,
on the couch.
even an 84-minute movie could feel longer than this movie does, but even this movie, it really does go by quickly.
It does.
Yeah, because I think for exactly the reason that you point out, there's no wasted moment, and every scene needs to be there. It's all good. There's not really a
Something. Yeah.
yeah, it's all giving you something, and so yeah, so it's great. Well, so what I was trying to think of today, if there's any dull spot in this movie, and there really isn't, except for maybe the character that's sort of meant to be dull, and that is the Johnny Savage
Oh
character.
yeah. Remember the Johnny Savage character?
Yeah.
Like he's a plot device. That's what he is. He's a human plot device,
He is.
which
He is.
is like fine. I mean, I think it's funny because he kind of serves like a twofold purpose. One is to like they're always playing with quirky sexuality in this film, and uh, you know you're never really quite clear where he's at, and yet
I don't know what you're talking about.
he got Bonnie amazing pantsuit. I'm just saying. Now we've done the whole film. Uh,
Oh, and I forgot. I looked. Now I'm not going to be able to find it at short notice, but I looked up the person, because at the beginning of the movie he's wearing a shirt with a person's name on it, and I
oh
was I thought to
yeah,
myself, who is that person? Because I've never heard of that person, or I've
it's
never. What is that?
Was Toluha or what was
It's
it?
it's like that, yeah. And so I looked them up, and the only the in the upper blurb on the Wikipedia page, it says that they were very popular within the LGBT.
Oh yeah,
So there's a little nod there right at the beginning
quirky.
of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the nod what, Dr. Perlman's wife has never seen Bonnie, has only heard
Yes,
about Bonnie.
that's right. That's right. Nobody's ever seen Bonnie. That's
Yeah,
right.
Bonnie's a mystery. And yeah, so I feel like Johnny Savage was like purposely kind of maybe to make that joke, or but
Yeah.
then so he could drop out of the show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he called an ass face.
Yes.
Which I mean, maybe yeah. I mean, I think that if that's true, if I were to think of a weak part of it, it would be that character.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was ever more to it.
I don't know. But yeah,
Did the commentary say anything?
the
Jesse, just
commentary didn't.
wondering if the commentary touched on that one.
Did I mention that I listened to the commentary?
No. Oh, there was a commentary?
Yes, there was. There
Incredible.
was.
Tell me all about it.
They didn't say much about the Johnny Savage character, but I will say one thing that kind of makes that character a little bit more worthwhile to me is, again, just to talk about a scene we've already talked about, because we've run through the whole movie, so now we're just going to go through it a second time. But when Corky does make that return after dropping out of the play, and he comes back and they're all clapping, and Bob Balaban is staring angrily, Johnny is standing there too, but he's not clapping. He's just standing watching. Yeah, and that, again, I think is pretty important because it does once again show that Johnny's not. I don't know why Johnny's there in the first place.
Johnny's not part of the crew.
No, Johnny's not part of the crew, and I'm not sure what is driving Johnny to be there until he drops out, other than just being like, this guy's asked me. It seems like maybe it's better than being in the garage for a couple of days.
I wonder, and I'm completely guessing here because I have no clue. I wonder if there was supposed to be a Libby May Johnny Savage side plot.
Oh, maybe.
Because she does have that one sort of out of place pool hall scene where she's there and she just like she wants to you know the one I'm talking about, right?
Italian guys.
Yeah, Italian. That's the one. And now we've done it. We're going to conclude this performance by an entire restaging of the entire movie. So I wonder if there was supposed to be something there.
Maybe so. Yeah, I don't. That's a good point. And they were paired off in the play. You're very welcome, bud. It's not the first one. You've made many. I didn't realize I should have commented on.
I need validation.
No. I'm sorry. But she does the song with him, or she would have done the song with him.
Penny for Your Thought.
Penny for Your Thoughts, that she ended up doing with Corky instead.
Which was so awkward.
Yeah.
I always watch those scenes with the idea that this was originally intended for Johnny Savage.
Yes.
And it just makes it even more absurd somehow.
Exactly.
Like the dance moves.
Well, how about this? Everybody dance.
Yes, I use that too.
Yeah.
Everybody dance. I use that phrase too.
Yeah. Yeah, the dance move.
Can you imagine? Could you imagine him? Yeah, the dance move that he practices at the beginning of the film.
Yes.
The kind of I don't know what to call it. It's like a chicken flap.
Yeah.
And how that actually plays into
the dance that they end up doing.
The end. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And imagining Johnny Savage.
That's right. Well, and along those lines, actually, so Johnny Savage drops out.
Yeah.
But as long as we're speculating.
Yeah, let's speculate on the director's cut here.
There's also the character of Steve Stark, who is played by. It's sad in a way because this actor is in all of these movies too, and he's really good, but he just doesn't have the same clout as the other actors that we've named so far. And it's gotten to this point, and we haven't even mentioned him yet. He's played by Michael Hitchcock,
the narrator.
Not the narrator.
Not the narrator?
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. But he's great. I tell you who he is. Yeah, he's the guy who's on the council who really loves Corky.
Oh, of course. He's so good.
Yeah, and wants to be
God, I wish he was in this show.
Yeah, what really wants to be part of the show. Isn't he in Best in Show? Isn't he with Parker Posey? Isn't
he's got a big role in that one.
Yeah.
So he had to, he was B team. You know what? He was A team performance for Guffman, but yeah, he clearly graduated to main cast. No, he was so good. He was so good.
Yeah, he was really good.
And he was also jealous of Johnny Savage, right?
Well, yeah. So that's the question. Does this guy Steve Stark? Yeah. Does he just
Yes. The answer is
appreciate?
yes.
Okay.
You're asking. I think there's a love triangle here.
Right.
And it's just like one of those gently hinted at things
Yes.
throughout the movie that isn't
Yes.
like explicitly spoken.
But I do think on top of it, so let's say he's in love with Corky. I still think he also just loves these plays. Like he loves the theater and he wants to be part of it. I can't remember what's the reason that they give for him not being allowed to do
He had to work, and Corky wouldn't allow him to audition at any other time because that's show business. And I think that says a lot too, doesn't it? About it says a lot. Corky
because then Corky goes to the garage and finds Johnny Savage, who never auditions.
Okay, we're on to something here.
Yeah.
You like this movie?
Yeah. And the auditions, again, my favorite audition.
How can you have a favorite? That's like picking a favorite child.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Actually, that's my old joke. When I don't even know if this is funny, if this makes anybody laugh, but somebody says to Shakespeare, asks Shakespeare, this is a real hypothetical situation. Somebody says to William Shakespeare, "What's your favorite play?" And he says, "Choosing a favorite play would be like choosing a favorite child, A Winter's Tale."
I don't get it at all. I love it.
I get, okay. It is, here I'm going to be like Fred Willard. You see, because he doesn't mind picking a favorite child. He's okay with picking a favorite child. He says A Winter's Tale.
He doesn't mind. Oh,
She laughs.
that
She laughs
great.
anyway. It's fine. So, but seriously, no, I love the guy, the old man who does the one-man performance of Raging Bull.
It's so good. Who is that guy?
I don't know who that guy is.
That guy?
I don't know. But also the guy who is the play narrator is the Arquette patriarch.
That's who that is.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny about what I find is really funny about it is he's the one who's a taxidermist.
Yes.
And like, might have wanted to do some theater in the old days when he was young. And he ends up being the best out of them all. Like he's the one that might have like the kernel of true talent that everyone's waiting.
That's a good point. That's a good point. He is definitely the best performer of everybody there. Yeah.
And he pees his pants.
He does? Did I miss that?
Yeah, you must have. Watch it again. Maybe you should go listen to your commentary. And maybe
you mentioned this in the commentary. I that's why I didn't know that this happened.
I see.
Yeah.
You've never watched the film, actually.
I've never seen the movie.
No.
But the commentary is amazing.
Fantastic.
He pees his pants at which point in the performance?
It's about they're about to go on, maybe in one of the scenes. I don't know. It's in the backstage area.
Yeah.
And he's wet himself, and they're like blow drying it out. You don't remember this scene?
No, I don't. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yep, he's a little nervous, maybe.
Is that what it is? It's nerves? Is he
seems rather content. Like I don't. Maybe they're just like. I mean, maybe he spilled something on himself, but I don't know.
Huh?
It kind of looks like it's in the pee area.
Yeah. Well, it must be. That must be what it is. I think maybe I just blanked on that moment. Like I just thought maybe they were like. Because, they do a lot of those fast scenes of them putting on different clothes and stuff like that. So it happens in that, like they cut in there. Can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, you're going to have to go watch that again. I'm a little disappointed here.
I'm sorry.
I mean, okay, there's one piece that we haven't touched on yet that I really think we ought to, which is Catherine O'Hara's bangs.
Okay.
And I feel like that could be like an episode on its own. But what do you think that she was conveying there in her character? What do you think?
With her bangs.
Yeah, with her bangs.
I have to say, and I don't, I'm not suggesting that this isn't an important topic. But
No.
But I don't think I considered this at all when I was watching the movie. So
You never thought about her flip?
You know what? I don't think I've noticed her hair when they're at the Chinese restaurant, and it's doing that weird thing there.
She has it in every scene, including the play. She doesn't. It's in every scene. Every scene.
What is it? Explain it, because I can't even. I
don't know. It's just like massive, like height. There's so much height to this like, one little flip of bangs that she has. It's like a surfer's wave.
I'm seeing it now.
You see it now.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now.
I'm having trouble understanding how you've watched this movie and listened to the commentary. And
I clearly have missed many things in this 84-minute epic.
This is what happens when you rely on commentary. Just a little bit.
A Winter's Tale.
Yeah.
You said a Winter's Tale. Anyway, no, I never noticed that. But yeah, her hair is ridiculous. That's true. Her hair is ridiculous.
Yeah, there must have been something behind it.
Well, and I wonder if that is her choice. Like, you can definitely see her making very specific choices.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you said before, when they're doing the audition and she's mouthing along to Fred.
Yes,
times.
Love that.
Yeah, that I noticed that I did. That I saw.
Excellent.
But yeah, but yeah. So I think I would imagine that she's bringing probably a lot to the character.
I feel like she is wonderful for bringing in, and Eugene Levy too, in a way. But she's a little bit more. She brings in like one little piece of slapstick into almost everything that she does. Like, yeah. and I say that like it really works. Like, she has this one like visible eccentricity.
Yes.
That makes like that just kind of like pushes her character from like good to great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel like that was definitely her thing for this one. I mean, the bangs are just.
Well, after we're done here, I'm watching the movie again.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Yeah, clearly I missed quite a bit, but that's great. Yeah, and also Eugene Levy, you know his thing with the eyes?
Yeah.
So again, if you haven't seen the movie, he takes off his glasses. He's being asked to remove his glasses for the first scene of Red, White, and Blaine because they didn't have glasses yet, and he says, "Oh, that could cause a problem because I have this what, dead eye or something like that."
Yeah,
or
lazy eye. Yeah.
And see, what some people call lazy, I just call dead. But he takes off his glasses, and his eye is I don't know how he does it.
No, it's so perfectly timed too.
Yeah.
Like, he just takes them off and his eye like just deviates.
Yeah.
Like one eye just upwards.
Yeah.
It's those pieces. It's that piece in like the same thing in Best in Show where Catherine O'Hara has the wobbly leg. And he has two left feet, literally. Yeah.
I have two left feet. I
literally have two left feet.
Yeah, she thought I was joking, but
it's those. He was so good. He was so good in Guffman, Eugene Levy. And how everybody's just like cheering for this guy, and you're not really sure why.
Yes. Well, it is partly like he is a bit of a loser, right? And so there is something lovable about the fact that he's kind of
underdog. Yeah,
that's right.
That's what I'll.
And I do love his wife in this movie, and like, again, those moments that are actually more touching than anything else. That when he comes on stage and she almost starts clapping, and then
I know.
Isn't that nice?
so pleased for him.
Yeah.
She's so pleased for him and
Yeah.
how excited she is after the show.
Yeah.
Like she's just so proud of him.
Yeah. And I love how she says she comments on his great dramatical acting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
she's really good.
she is. Is she in other ones? Does she make the cut into?
I don't think she ever ends up in A territory. I don't know if she ever ends up in the big leagues.
the A team.
Yeah, but just looking, she was in the A team. She was part of the main cast of that.
That's true.
But she is in Best in Show, according to, I'm looking at her Wikipedia right now.
Oh, it's so nice to have that right at your fingertips,
Isn't it? It's quite nice. I know it's hard to get onto the internet in deep space where
it just Wi-Fi.
Yes, but I don't think she's in any more after that.
When we find out like she passed away in 2002, please.
No, she's alive, but her husband died tragically. This is now
where are we going?
This is getting a little dark. But her husband did die tragically in a car accident. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but it's like it's the fact that we've gone to this.
We've gone to this territory.
It's not funny.
Oh,
it's
no.
You know, it's we suddenly got on. I couldn't pull myself back. Oh, now I'm realizing where I know her from. It says here on her Wikipedia page. She is best known for her role as the Kraft Philadelphia cream cheese angel.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
This is mind-blowing though.
Yeah. Yeah.
We made a very special connection just
We
now.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice that it took the edge off the stuff about her husband.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to move away from that ugliness. But,
ooh.
Yeah. But both Second City performers.
I feel like, I mean, how I'd be interested to know how Christopher Guest got all these folks together. I mean, clearly they were in his realm.
Yeah.
But he just assembled like a really fantastic group that clearly has worked since then. And I wonder what.
And they work really well together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot. I think a lot of them have origins in improv comedy and things like that. Obviously, Eugene Levy does. Catherine O'Hara does. Our colleagues.
Yes.
Christopher Guest, I think maybe. Did he start? Oh no, he started with National Lampoons.
Oh, okay.
So he was in with Chevy Chase and John Belushi in the National Lampoon stuff. But obviously he didn't. And then he eventually goes on to do Saturday Night Live, but he does it a little bit later.
Was he a writer or was he on?
He was on it. He was on it during the season, I think, at least the season that where it was Billy Crystal and Martin Short and Harry Shearer and people like that.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, and in fact, he
would have met a lot of people in that circuit.
I think so. And he did a lot of like shorts on Saturday Night Live then that were very similar to the kinds of things that they were doing Waiting for Guffman. There's a great one where it's like these two guys doing like who are like part of a swimming combo, and it's Christopher Guest and Martin Short, and Martin Short can't swim, so he's wearing like these water wings while he's in the water. And it's very much in that style. It's great.
It's synchro, right? Like it's
yeah. You've seen it. So you've seen it. Yeah. That's right.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that was Christopher Guest. I knew Martin Short. I guess that's how you know.
Christopher Guest is either the other swimmer or he's the coach or something like that. Because I remember there's one thing where he's like, where you're pointing and he's like, you're pointing at him and it's like, hey, you, I know you. Do you remember that? That's Christopher Guest. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. See now, Philadelphia cream cheese and Christopher Guest on. Do you? How about this? Is something different, but how do you see the relationship between Christopher Guest and Jamie Lee Curtis?
Okay, so this is really that's an interesting question because to prepare for this show, I watched or attempted to watch some interviews with Christopher Guest regarding For Guffman. I was interested.
Yes.
Guy is so serious, like not a shred of humor.
Right.
Almost you wonder like, but no, he's just like he's very well in the ones that I watched anyways.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he just wasn't having a good time or what was going on. And I was thinking, I was trying to put him with Jamie Lee Curtis, who is currently like attending like Comic-Cons and anime conventions in full cosplay.
Yeah.
With her kids. And I'm like, this is one of the coolest like out there moms and like women.
Yeah.
He seems to play everything so straight, but he's also clearly got a very creative inner mind, right?
Right. That's right.
So it would be, I think, like, I mean, in my head when I put them together, they're perfect. They're literally perfect. Right. But when I see his his like non-acting persona, I'm like, ooh. I don't know what happened to them. They could be awful. They just could be awful people.
That's funny. But I mean, it is true. There's that kind of, there are those comedians that you see that are always like on when you see them being interviewed. And I remember as a kid though getting really excited to watch an interview with Steve Martin. But he's very serious. He was like, unless he was being interviewed on like a comedy talk show, like if he was on Letterman or something like that, then he'd be really funny. But if it was just a regular like interview, like on, I don't know, like Oprah or something like that, he'd be super serious. He wouldn't be as funny. It was a bit
like unless you're performing, right?
Yeah.
And then your real life is like dry and thoughtful and sober and serious and I guess they do say like a lot of comedians are kind of like depressed people. But I don't know. I feel like I would love to just be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too that you think I feel on some level that Jamie Lee Curtis would be interesting in these movies, and you wonder why they've never. But maybe they just don't want to mix the non-professional with the professional. I'm not sure, but I feel like
we could come up with lots of reasons. Like, I don't know. Maybe she's like an awful improviser and can only scripts. Or maybe they secretly hate each other and are only I don't know, like they both really wanted beautiful children, and so that's why. Or I don't know, I could think of maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like those Hitchcock movies where you get tossed into a rubber sack and thrown into the trunk of a car, right? It's like all of those things.
Yeah, it's like one of those Zen things. Yeah.
You just find people.
Yeah, I think it's at least one of those three options.
Right. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, no, I think partly why I'm a bit, because I'm not one to, certainly I would not be really one to comment on somebody else's relationship, but I don't think I've ever seen them together. I've ever seen them together. Like I don't see them in movies, and I've never seen them outside. I just know somebody has told me that
are they the same person?
Could be.
Is this what we're getting at?
Maybe okay. I've never seen them in the same room.
It's like Pokeroo.
It is a little bit like It's just like Pokeroo.
Yeah.
It's just like Pokeroo.
I knew you were leading me on a journey here, and I'm so glad you brought me here.
How is it? If is my memory correct on Pokeroo that somehow these people were able to decode what Pokeroo was saying when he only ever said Pokeroo?
Correct.
So they would say, "How are you today, Pokeroo?" And Pokeroo would say, "Pokeroo,"
Correct.
and they would say, "That's great."
Mm.
But how are you yesterday? And Pokeroo would say, "Pokeroo," and then they'd say, "Oh, I'm
Too bad,
sorry."
Pokeroo. Gosh,
Yeah, that's a shame.
that's a
But from
little
our
overkill there,
perspective, it
Pokeroo.
sounded exactly the same. It sounded
Yeah.
like he was
Well,
Pokeroo on both things.
keep in mind, they could decode Pokeroo. They could also hear the toys talking. they'd be like,
Right.
they'd be like, "What are you working on there, Marigold?"
Right.
That's a great idea. Oh, what's that, Marigold? Humpty's what? Humpty. That sort of. They'd have this whole. I don't
That
know.
was the episode where Humpty went to jail, I remember. But yeah, that's true. It's like a show about lunatics, basically, is what Polka Dot Door was.
Correct, and I think we all grew up on it, and that's
We're all the better for it.
tells a lot about the reason that we're here today.
So I've got 2 questions.
Yeah, hit me.
First one, do you have a favorite song from the movie?
I mean, it certainly isn't Nothing Ever Happens on Mars.
That's what I was going to say. That's my least favorite song.
I mean, it's like atonal. Like you can't really pick out the melody in it.
Well, you'd have to imagine if it's by a Martian, it's gonna be atonal. How do you represent outer space through music?
You know what? That's true. I was being insensitive to interspecies musical scales and tonality. Who knows?
Yeah, you're being an earthist.
Not my favorite. But I feel like Stool Boom is probably like the catchiest.
Yeah.
But I do like, I like them all, I love that there's an overture at the beginning that kind of goes through them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably say like Stool Boom is the one that like kind of like goes through my head when I'm in the shower. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yourself?
It's Stool Boom.
It's
definitely
Boom.
Stool Boom. I mean,
From
when
the pool room.
Yeah, when they reach that, Stool Boom, when they get to that part.
I need to know what they were listening. Maybe it says in the commentary what he was drawing from for those tracks, because it has that perfect, like it's the music is perfect.
It is.
The lyrics are perfect. Like they're so funny.
And the music, I probably would have been able to find this out from the credits, but in fact, I found it out from the commentary.
Right. Okay. Good. I'm glad that was a thing for you.
Back. Yeah. The music and the lyrics were mostly created by Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer, and Michael McLean.
I believe it. They're musicians, man. They're musicians. That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's so good though.
Yeah, the music is very good, and yes, it's very specific to the kind of music you would hear in a lot of local theater. He does say, I don't know if it's where he got the inspiration for the music, but he does say that he was inspired by seeing Annie Got Your Gun performed in a local performance.
Ooh, yeah. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the music is like in Annie Got Your Gun, but yeah, that has that feel, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Quick aside, speaking of community theater, did you notice in the orchestra that the trumpeter was also playing percussion?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a nice
touch. One extra guy.
No, we had to do it at the same time, like a full-on xylophone melody.
Yeah. And playing the trumpet at the same time. Yeah. That's pretty talented, I have to say. That takes talent. Okay, so that's your favorite song is Stool Boom.
I think it's Stool Boom.
Yeah. Out of all, okay. I was going to ask you who your favorite character is.
That's a hard one, though.
It is a hard one, but I would be remiss if we didn't. There's 2 kind of characters that we haven't actually even mentioned at all yet. We mentioned somehow Michael Hitchcock and Steve Stark before we mentioned these 2 characters. One is the mayor, played by Larry Miller.
Yes.
who's very good in this.
Very good.
And the other, in a very, just in one scene, but it's a great scene, is David Cross,
Yes.
who is the UFO expert.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the pan. I guess the pan into that shot where he's trying to like measure the circumference of the crop circle,
Yes.
and the measuring tape doesn't reach.
Yes.
Just like this beautiful piece. So funny. Yeah, I can't believe we got to Johnny Savage before we got to like
to David Cross. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that little.
Yeah, two things I want to say about the David Cross thing. So again, I'm sorry, I'm just going to do 2 lines from it.
Again, your show, your rules.
One, and I think this is, tell me if you disagree, but I feel like this is only something that could come about through improv, rather than, I can't imagine anybody writing this out, where he says, actually, now I'm thinking of a third thing. This is what I was thinking of before, but when he says, when he works it out, he's like, that brings me to number 5. There are 5 letters in Blaine. Well, there are not 5 letters in Blaine. That's the that's the one that he's been.
I never stopped
working on this theory in the town's name.
I never stopped to try and count the letters. I just given.
And the other is when he says, I can't remember what he's talking about. And that's a planet. So here's the line that I don't think could be written down. Where he says, and that's a planet that is way, way, way far away. Like you don't think to write that down. You would fix that if you were actually writing it, but
there's no way. There's and like the temperature that is within the circle.
Yeah, and so that was the other thing I wanted to bring out. There's the temperature that's within the circle, and he says there's always a 40% chance of precipitation, which when you think about it is impossible. Because it would have to be 0.
Nonsense. The whole thing is a bit of nonsense. And but I just love that they probably brought him out for like one day to shoot this scene. It probably took him about 30 minutes. They did like 2 or 3 takes.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the best moments in the movie.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And yes, the mayor is also wonderful.
Yeah. But also, sorry, just again, that way, way, way far away makes me think of another great part of the Eugene Levy audition, where he switches into Swanee River.
Look out!
Yeah, look out! But when he's like, I can't remember what the song is, but he's like, Bay, 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 way down.
Yes, that one. Yes, one down. Yeah. So
to try and make Bay work his way. Yeah, it's fantastic. So okay. So if you were gonna name a favorite character, if you were gonna pick one,
I don't pick one character. I can't pick one character. It's gonna be Corky. Like my favorite character, Roy Loomis.
Which one is Roy Loomis?
The one that they think is Guffman.
Oh.
Thanks to the balloon.
Yeah. He is great though. He seems very real. Like he's very real in that part.
That's what is amazing to me, is that he actually seems like a real person.
Yeah.
But I think that he's in some of their other stuff as well.
Yeah, I think that he is. Paul Benedict is the actor.
Oh.
He also died.
Did he?
Yeah. Anyway, let's not try and get into that whole business again.
People who so yeah, no, I think it would. I mean, I think it's Corky. It's so hard because there's so many moments.
Yeah.
Of all of them that I love. Like, I mean, maybe Sheila might be my second because she has so many moments and she's always given it.
Yes.
Corky! Like, it's always her voice.
That is spot on. That's exactly it. Yeah, that's great.
What about you?
I mean, I think that Corky is definitely the most. Definitely, I think the maybe the best character to name, because you see so much of him, and it's just so it never wears out throughout the whole movie.
No.
So yeah, I think that's great. Every moment with him is great. And like I say, probably with the bastard people, it doesn't get any better than that. I will always have a soft spot for Fred Willard.
Yes.
So that character, just all those little sides, like when he's meeting Dr. Pearl there in for the first time, and he's making all those dentist jokes and things like that. Give her a few caramels, future customer. I don't know.
He's super quick.
Yeah.
He's super quick. And watching an interview with him, it's really, really hard to like not think that something's coming, because his voice and his mannerisms are so much like all of his characters.
Yeah.
Except like he's not saying cringy things.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Yeah, and it's a great bit. Like, it's amazing that nobody had thought of Fred Willard's shtick before, because it really is an easy shtick, but it's brilliant that he thought of it, which is that you can kind of say almost anything. You're given a lot of latitude because you don't have to be funny. But what works is how just committed he is to the line that's not all that funny.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it could be anything. He could say almost anything, and as long as he's selling it and thinks it's fantastic,
that you're there for it. You're there for it, and you're there for the people around him reaction to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, agree.
Yeah. So yeah, I love those are the characters that I love. But I also agree, Sheila's great as well. Sheila's fantastic. But they're all except for Johnny Savage, they're all pretty interesting
They all have their own little strengths, don't they? And that's why I think at the end of the day, that's why the movie works so much, because there's something in all of them that you can find like appealing or funny or familiar or no, those are the three things. And you root for them. You root for them in your own little way, and that's what makes the whole arc of the movie work.
Yeah. And do you want to hear a little nice story about the actor who played Johnny Savage?
I would love to hear. Was he also the Philadelphia cream cheese angel?
He took over briefly for a day from the Philadelphia. No, he was.
I was following you.
You were almost with me there for a second. No, he left. Sort of. He still acts a little bit, but he decided to pursue a career in science. I'm quoting directly from the Wikipedia page now, and he wrote a biology thesis that explored the effects of anti-malarials on the brains of frogs.
Well,
you see that
thing to do for the frog community.
Yeah, and then he died. No, that part is not true. He's still alive.
The curse of Guffman.
Yeah.
It's really
it'll affect your spouses too.
Christopher Guest. Murderer. Don't, not actually.
Don't, yes.
Don't sue us.
We love your relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis. I've never seen you two together, but I'm sure you're extremely happy together. And
wonderful, healthy relationship.
And you're least of all a murderer. That doesn't help. I don't know if that helps.
Freeze frame.
If there's one thing you're not, it's a murderer.
Yeah. Box quote.
Ryan says this is a great episode. I love the ending.
Ryan?
Yeah. Former guest and hopefully future guest. Right?
Former guest, because he now also has the curse of Guffman.
The curse of Guffman. Anybody who's anywhere near Guffman will have a terrible fate. Sardonically irreverent.
Truly.
Absolutely.
The sardonically irreverent Bobby Madakishka. Debik Schmemick.
Debik Schmemick. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for
thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, maybe, well, wait, sorry. I want to ask you if there's anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about.
Um, I think we should talk about having me on this show a little bit more. I think that
Yeah.
we uh, really missed the boat here, waiting to have me on this long. Someone, a guest of my caliber. I mean, you had Ryan, which is great. I mean,
Yes.
Ryan's amazing.
Yes.
I don't want to downplay Ryan,
Sure. Sure.
but
I can understand that. I can understand.
um,
But yes, we should have had you on sooner. And I told you this in our personal correspondence, but I'll
which
now
I will now
yeah
disclose.
say it to the public. Uh, Sallow by
Yes.
Pasolini is no. I um Ryan says commit to a 20 episode run or walk out. There you go.
I'm getting some wheeling and dealing advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Ryan knows because I violated my contract with Ryan several times. So, but by the way, Ryan, I'll see you. I'll see you in 2 days. Yeah. But apart from that, I don't. I think I operate under the assumption that nobody wants to do the podcast. So I always, want to hold off in terms of. But that's just my assumption. Now, so if anybody out there watching wants to do it, I'll be happy to have you on. But certainly, Maggie, I'm happy to have you on anytime. And I'm sorry that I didn't get you on sooner.
You will be. I'm just saying.
Don't give me the curse of Guffman.
No, not at all. Oh, to spend some time chatting with you, and your show is great.
I don't know if it's me or sorry. I don't know if it's me or you, but you're on my end. You're freezing more than you were before, but it could be me. Sometimes I'm freezing, and it looks like the other person is freezing. Oh,
isn't it good that this is happening mostly now towards the end of the show?
Yes, it is. It is. At least from our perspective, it's quite possible that it's been going on the entire time, and we'll find out later. But
we've just been like this the entire time, like stuck in a really awful like one of those.
But from our perspective, it's been a hell of a conversation. Well, Ryan says it's a great episode, so I think that means that from the audience's perspective, that it's coming through. So that's good.
Our audience of one. It doesn't matter. I'm just happy to chat with you and talk film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've read one book. We could talk about a book or something one day.
Yeah, definitely. We can talk about that book. What is there something is there one? Oh, look. Oh, Ryan hasn't seen the movie. I haven't seen
Ryan, see it. Oh,
you really should, Ryan. I think you'd like it.
Ryan, if you're nearby, Jesse, then I'll come over and we'll make a viewing night. It'll be a great time.
Yeah, we can watch it. Especially we can watch the commentary. I don't know if you want to do that, but I'm sorry.
I don't know a Will. Is that he an Irish fellow?
We don't mock the grammatical errors of my audience. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a brief, I would say a cameo in this.
It's like 2 minutes, if even, but it's very funny.
It's a quality 2 minutes.
Yes, definitely. But we should definitely get together, watch the commentary. I think it'll be very good. But is there another movie that you can think of right now? Can I just hold you to? It doesn't have to be a time, but is there another one that you'd like to talk about?
We got to discuss it. I mean, I don't know how interested your friends are in A League of Their Own, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary, 30 years old, I think, today. So I love a Will. It's like Willow the Wisp, except not. And then, so that is 30th anniversary. I could talk to you ad nauseum about A League of Their Own.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that before back in the 90s.
We could talk about Star Trek.
We could. Do you watch Star Trek?
Well, yeah. Oh, sorry. Right. No, I've never heard of it up here.
Right. Yeah, we could. There's lots of things that we could talk about, definitely.
We could
So
talk about her family.
wow. We'll start with Uncle Andrew.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories.
The
But
good old Uncle Unky Andy, as we called him.
we did. Yeah, no, they would love that. They
Yeah, I
would
think they would. We'll name them. We'll definitely name them by name.
Well, that's something that people can look forward to in the future. And I think we've given, yeah, Ryan will. I hope Ryan will be here. That would be great. But otherwise, I think this has been great, and I really appreciated having you on. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, Jesse, I had the time. This made my week even. It was so nice to talk to you about this movie because I have so many wonderful memories of it, and I'm just happy to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we did too. A lot of laughs, which I was expecting, and it was great. So yeah, so that's all. But thanks again. Hope that you come back. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm gonna hit the credits. So long, bastard people.